Hi, Archie.
Hi. Did you see me?
I can see you and I can hear you.
Yes, my mom is back there.
Oh, good. Great. Are you having a good day?
Yes. Hey, mama, put it on.
Chưa con ăn ngon thì con kiểm nhận ăn mà.
Everything is good.
Hi.
Okay. Do you remember what page we are on?
Okay. Where's here?
What page is that?
I will see. We are on this page. Yes, this page.
Okay.
We
So,
finished it.
yeah.
We finished.
Okay. So yesterday, we had a little Zoom problem at the very end.
But we finished this page.
Yeah, after I did, but I'm going to reread it quickly. But after you and I were finished, I added 7 more minutes to our meeting, and I talked about this, the top of this page. Did you have a chance to watch that?
No, I didn't watch. I forgot.
That's okay. So I put in a star right here. You can see in the middle of the page where I stopped. But I'm just going to go back up here to where it says, "Blistering blue cheese," exclaimed Swift Paws. "Let's shake a paw and get down to the hotel, the Grand Hotel, ASAP. Well, in English, we have an expression where we don't say shake a paw because we don't have paws. We have hands and feet, arms and legs. But we do have an expression in English called shake a leg. When you want someone to hurry up, we say shake a leg, let's get going. Let's shake a leg and get going. That means we want to hurry up. Now, have you ever heard anyone say ASAP before?
No.
Well, people in America love to say this. ASAP stands for 4 words, and each word begins with one of those 4 letters. So A stands for as, S stands for soon, A is as again, and P is possible. So ASAP means as soon as possible, right now, immediately, or in a hurry. Okay? So we say ASAP when we are in a hurry. So then Swift Paws says, if we get to the hotel quickly, we can set a trap. Set a trap. So when the thief arrives, he won't know what hit him. Well, do you know what it means to set a trap for someone? To set a trap for the thief? Do you know what a mouse trap is?
Oh, I know.
Right? Have you ever seen someone, it's like kind of a wood board with some metal on it and some cheese, and then the mouse comes to, as soon as the mouse takes the cheese, it whoop, grabs the mouse, right? That's called a mouse trap. Well, setting a trap for a thief is not like setting a mouse trap. It's not like the thief is going to step onto the trap or take a piece of cheese and whoop, all of a sudden he's captured in a net. When we say set a trap, it means that they are going to do something at the hotel that will help them catch the thief. And the thief will be surprised. He won't be expecting it. He won't know what it is. He won't even know that they are there waiting for him. So the way to get a trap to work is to have it be a surprise, okay? So that when the thief arrives at the hotel, he won't know what hit him. Do you see that part there? I highlighted it in orange. It's actually orange on top of pink, so it turned, I don't know, kind of a orangey pinky color. It says he won't know what hit him. Do you know what that means? It does not have to do with hitting, okay? It has to do with surprising. It's when something happens that you're not expecting and you're like, I don't know what hit me, okay? It's I'm surprised. He won't know what hit him. That means he will be taken by surprise. He won't be expecting Swift Paws and Geronimo to be at the hotel, okay? The other thing, you'll notice I used green and I circled the pronouns he and him. And I asked the question, who is he and who is him? And we have to read the whole thing and think about it. It says, when the thief arrives, he, that's the thief, won't know what hit him. That's also the thief. So the thief will be surprised by Swift Paws and Geronimo, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna move on. And remember the eye is Geronimo, and we can see here the eyes, oops, I didn't mean to do that. The eye is coming up, and it's Geronimo talking, and we know that Geronimo often stammers because I think Geronimo just gets kind of nervous. And he says, are you sure we need to go right now, Swift Paws? I stammered. And then, do you remember the other day, I think this was 2 days ago maybe, we talked about italic, words that are in italic, okay, italics. So that's when the letters of the word are kind of wiggly and wavy and they look like they're gonna fall over. And the author will use italics for one of 3 reasons. It might be to tell us the title of a story, the name of a book. It might be because they want, when we're reading it out loud, they want us to stretch the word and say it slowly, which really kind of emphasizes that word if we say it really slowly. Or it could be showing us what the character is thinking in their head, okay? Not what they're saying out loud, but what they're thinking in their head. And this author likes to use it for that reason with Geronimo a lot. So we're gonna see what Geronimo is thinking in his head right now. And he said, he thinks to himself, oh, what I would give for a little downtime, a nice cheesy snack, a shower, or maybe a quick rat nap. So let's see here. We have a couple things to look at. The first one, let me get rid of some of this here. The first one is downtime. So I'm going to highlight that in blue. Downtime is when we're taking it easy. We're not being busy. We're not working on homework. We're not washing the dishes. We're not busy doing work. We're relaxing. We're saying, I need to sit down and just watch some TV or read a book or do something fun. That would be a person's downtime. Okay, so it's their relaxing time. And what would Geronimo like to do for his downtime? Well, he would like to have a snack made of cheese, maybe a shower, or maybe a quick rat nap. Well, I want you to look at this rat nap right here, and I need to make that purple because that's a mouse word. Uh-oh, I've lost my purple. Let me get it. Let me see if we can get a good purple for us here. That one looks pretty good, don't you think? Maybe? Let's try that one. Okay, that look purple or pink? Hopefully that looks a little bit purple. Well, in English, we actually have a word in English called a catnap. And a catnap, have you ever heard that word before?
No.
A catnap is when we want to take a little short nap in the middle of the day, not at nighttime, but maybe, 2 o'clock in the afternoon or right after lunch. We just take a quick little short nap. That's called a catnap. Maybe it's only 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Some people call it a power nap. Power nap. So an American would know what a catnap is. It's just a short little nap. But this author took the word cat and changed the C into an R because he just couldn't resist the fact that if he changes the C to an R, he can get the word rat. And you know how the author always likes to get the word mouse or mice or rat into a word whenever possible. All right, so in other words, Geronimo really doesn't want to run over to the Grand Hotel and set a trap for the thief. He would like to go home and relax. I don't know if he's a very good superhero or not. But let's see what Swiftpaw says. Okay, so Swiftpaw says, Swiftpaw's squeak interrupted my thoughts. So Swiftpaw does not know what Geronimo's been thinking. Swiftpaw does not know that Geronimo would really just like to go home and take a little nap or a shower or eat some cheese. So Swiftpaw interrupts that thinking. So Geronimo has to stop thinking for a minute. And Swiftpaw says, "Of course," he insisted. "Remember, partner, criminals never stop, and neither do the Heromice." Okay, so remember what he did hear Geronimo say was Geronimo had said, "Are you sure we need to go right now? Couldn't we go later?" And Swiftpaw answers him and says, "Of course we need to go right now. Remember, partner, criminals never stop, and neither do we." Now, let's look at the word criminal, because that is not a word that very many people might know, because we don't usually talk about criminals. So let's get our blue highlighter and we will highlight criminals. Criminals in a story would be the bad guys. They are the ones that break the law. They break the rules. They do things that are not nice. They do things that people are not supposed to do. Stealing a diamond from a jewelry store is a crime. It is breaking the law. It is not something people should do. And a person who does it is called a criminal. They are committing a crime. Let's take that word criminal, and I'm going to write the word crime above it. And you can see, so far, they both start with the same 4 letters. And then we can add an E to make crime. So a criminal is someone who commits or does a crime. They break the law and do something they're not supposed to do. Now, Swiftpaw has spoken, so it's time for Geronimo to say something, and he wants to protest. Do you remember what the word protest means?
Yes.
Right? It's when you say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't agree. I don't like that idea. But here it says, before I could protest. So Geronimo doesn't even have a chance to say no before he can say no. Swiftpaw, let's turn the page and see what Swiftpaw does.
Swiftpaw is gone.
Swiftpaw launched into flight. Let's highlight the word launched in blue. Launched means he took off. He took off into the air to fly, dragging me with him. So he's holding on to Geronimo. Now the two of them are flying through the air. Okay, so he is dragging me. Who is me? That's going to be Geronimo with him our destination. Let's highlight that in blue. Destination is the place where you are going. So if you get on an airplane and you're going to see the Tower of London, I know someone here who went to see the Tower of London and the London Eye and the, what else did you see? The London Bridge and a big cathedral. If you go to London, that is your destination. When you get on the airplane and the airplane is flying to London, London is your destination. So it is the place where you are going. But Swift Paws and Geronimo, they are going to the Muskrat City's Grand Hotel. A few minutes later, we arrived in the hotel ballroom. I want to take a quick look at this sentence for just a minute, okay? Because it's a nice, easy, short sentence, okay? When we look at this sentence, a few minutes later, we arrived in the hotel ballroom. Who is that sentence about? What word is telling us who is doing something? Do you see? Who is doing something in that sentence? It's just a little two-letter word. It's we, okay? We, Geronimo and Swift Paws, okay? But Geronimo is the one speaking, so he says we. I mean Swift Paws and Geronimo. And what do Geronimo and Swift Paws do? What is it they are doing in that sentence? They are arriving someplace. Okay, they are landing. They're coming down for a landing from the air. But where are they landing? Where are they arriving in that sentence? Can you see where they are arriving? It tells us right after that. We arrived in the hotel ballroom. Where did we arrive? In the what?
In the what?
The hotel ballroom. And when is this happening? This is happening a few minutes later. Okay? So in that sentence, we know who it's about, what they're doing, where they're doing it, and when they're doing it. That sentence might be short, but it answers 4 questions. We arrived in the hotel ballroom a few minutes later. One way we could write that sentence is to start with the subject. We often start a sentence with the subject, and then after that, we will have the verb, okay, telling us what they're doing. So we could say, we arrived where? In the hotel ballroom. When? A few minutes later. We arrived in the hotel ballroom a few minutes later. But a lot of times when we're writing, we like to start out by saying, when is this happening? So we can take that phrase, a few minutes later, from the end of the sentence, and we can move it to the beginning of the sentence. A few minutes later, we arrived in the hotel ballroom. But if we do that, if we take it from the end of the sentence and move it to the beginning of the sentence, we need to put a comma after the phrase. And that's why you can see, if you look carefully, right here, there's a comma. A few minutes later, we arrived in the hotel ballroom. All right, I'm going to keep going. The place was bustling with activity. While the orchestra warmed up, the waiters scampered about, setting out a delicious-looking buffet. All right, well, we have some good vocabulary words here. So let's highlight in blue. I think we can highlight ballroom, bustling, orchestra. What else? Maybe, do you know the word waiters? Do you know what a waiter is? Maybe we'll talk about waiters, scampered, and buffet. Oh, that's a lot. We have a lot of words to look at here. So ballroom. Ballroom would be a big fancy room in a very fancy place, almost like a palace or a really fancy hotel, like a 5-star hotel, might have a ballroom. You might see a nice wedding take place in a ballroom. So you can see, look at the ceiling of this ballroom, right? It's beautiful. It's kind of special, really tall windows. The wall and the ceilings are carved, and there's chandeliers hanging, these lights hanging from the ceiling. Those are called chandeliers. So it's really fancy. And then you see these long tables that have food on them? That's called a buffet. So a buffet is you walk up to a table and you have a plate, and then you walk down past the table and you put things onto your plate from the table. So you serve yourself. You walk up to the table and you see the food and you look at the food that you want and you put it onto your plate, and then you go back to sit down. So this is called a buffet. You can see over here is where people can get their drinks. And over here, this is where people can get some fruit and cheese and things like that. And then back here at the end, you see there's a person playing the bass and the harp and the saxophone, these musical instruments and some drums. They are called the orchestra. So this group here is called the orchestra. In this word, I'm going to put a box or a line underneath the CH. This CH is making the sound k or orchestra. It's making the sound of a K. Now, I don't know if you remember, but the CH makes the sounds ch, k, ch, k. So the sound k is number 2. So I'm going to put a little 2 on top of that CH, orchestra. An orchestra is when you have instruments that play together. And usually some of the instruments will have strings. Like this is the bass. You might not be able to see that there, B-A-S-S. Over here, this one is called the harp. And so those are some instruments in the orchestra. All right, now let's look at this word here, bustling. Bustling means being very busy and a little bit noisy. Not like crazy noisy, but just the noise of people being busy. When you go into a classroom, if all of the students are busy working, then you could say the classroom is bustling. If you go into a department store, like Shinkong Mitsukoshi, you would say the place is bustling because there would be many people going up and down the escalators and in and out of the stores, getting things to eat, buying things, doing many different things. So the place is bustling. Okay, we have bustling, orchestra. A waiter is a person who works in a restaurant, and usually the waiter will bring the food to you. So if you're sitting at a table and you order from a menu and someone comes to the table and says, what would you like to order? And you could say, well, I would like the soup and the salad and some fish or chicken and some, maybe have a Perrier to drink. And then the waiter will say right away, and he'll come back and bring you your food and something to drink. When there's a buffet, the waiters are going to be, here's a waiter carrying some food and he's bringing it to the table at the buffet to put it on the table. And scampered is a word that means, here's scampered. Scampered is a word that we often use this actually with mice. We don't probably use it too often with people, but scampered is when you kind of run around and run around in no particular direction. You're just kind of running all over the place. So he's describing in this paragraph what it looks like in the ballroom at the hotel. And now remember, this is more of Geronimo talking because it says I, and he's going to continue to describe for us what it looks like in the ballroom. Describe means to kind of give us a picture using words to make a picture in our mind of what it looks like. So I saw cheese sandwiches, bowls of cheesy pasta, and 5 fountains of creamy cheese fondue. Exclamation mark at the end, which tells us that he's really excited about that. So let's look at what a fondue is. Over here on this table, this is showing the fondue. Usually fondue is made of chocolate. It's like a chocolate fountain. You might see it at a fancy hotel. I went to a fancy hotel one time down in Kunding. It was called the Chateau. And in the restaurant, they had a chocolate fondue. And next to it, they had strawberries and different kinds of fruit on little toothpicks. And you'd put the strawberry on the toothpick, and then you would stick it into the chocolate fountain, and then you would pull it back, and the strawberry would have chocolate on it. It was very yummy. So oftentimes when you hear someone say fondue, you think chocolate. But we need to remember that this book is about mice, and mice like cheese. And so they are calling this a cheese fondue. So Geronimo was looking around at all of this food, and I think he forgot all about setting a trap for the thief. I think he's just thinking, yummy, yummy, yummy. I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that, and I want this. Well, let's see. Oh, yep, look what it says next. It says, my stomach began to growl. We use this expression, and I should make it in orange. My stomach began to growl. It doesn't actually growl like a tiger or a lion, but you can hear it. If your stomach is really empty and you're really hungry, you can hear it kind of go rumble, 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 and it means that you're hungry. And so this is showing us the sounds of his stomach, gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. I started drooling. Well, the word drooling is, I will use a dog as an example. If a dog is really excited about something, like you might see the saliva from his mouth, that's the water inside of his mouth, start to drip down from his mouth onto the ground. That's drooling. And we say in English that if we're looking at food that is really yummy and we really want it, it looks so good and we just can't wait to eat it, we might say, I was drooling, or he was drooling. They just couldn't wait to eat that food. That settled it. I needed a super snack, and I needed it super fast. I edged closer to the fondue fountain. Okay, when you edge closer to something, this is sort of a phrase. It means that you don't want people to really notice you. You're not like walking. You're just kind of like slowly moving over closer to where you want to go. That's edging closer to the fondue fountain. He's trying to be a little bit subtle or sneaky about it, not very obvious. All right, unfortunately, oh, this is a great word. Unfortunately, that means, uh-oh, this is not what I wanted to happen. This is kind of too bad that it happened. Unfortunately, before I could sneak one nibble, right, one little bite from that cheese fondue, the others arrived. You know, proton, electron, the rest of the team, right, work to do. So that's too bad. But that's what happens. He's there to do a job. He's supposed to remember that, right? All right, let's go on to the next page. Proton began mounting a super sophisticated alarm in the hallway, while Swiftpaws, Commissioner Ratford, and I studied a map of the building. Okay, they are getting down to business. They're like, all right, we got here before the thief, time to set a trap. So let's look at some of these pretty fancy words. I remember that the author always likes to add the word super in front of a word. So I'm going to take the super off for a minute and just look at the word, so starting with this S, sophisticated, sophisticated. Sophisticated is a fancy word that means really fancy. Fancy and also maybe high tech, you know, something that uses computers and buttons and whistles and gizmos and gadgets, and something that's kind of clever, inventive, pretty fancy. That would be sophisticated. A lot of little parts, not something simple. It's kind of the opposite of something simple. So he's putting an alarm in the hallway, while Swiftpaws and the chief of police, Ratford, and Geronimo are studying a map of the building. Now, I see here some quotation marks, which means someone is about to talk. And you know, I always like to know who's talking. So I'm just gonna zip through the line until I come to the end of the quotation marks. And then I'm going to take a look and notice who's talking. So this is Swiftpaws. Now I'm going to go back to where it started and see what he has to say. So here, when we say the word we, it's Swiftpaws talking. But he's also talking about Geronimo because Geronimo is his partner. We need to check all the entrances, every window and every door, right? They're trying to make sure that they can see the thief whenever he tries to come into the hotel. Well, we're going to highlight in blue the word entrance. An entrance would be the main door or a door that lets you go inside. Okay, so when you walk in a door to a school or to a house or to an apartment, you are walking through an entrance. Now, windows can be an entrance. They are a way in. They're just not the main door. Yes, I see your hand is raised. What can I do? What question do you have? Just letting me know you're here. Okay. Well, Swiftpaws, what was he doing? He was running up and down the room. He is super excited. Okay. So suddenly, an impeccably dressed rodent strode up to us. Suddenly means dun, 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 dun. Something happened right away, right that moment that maybe they weren't expecting. Okay, so they're busy looking at the windows and the doors and a map and putting in an alarm and doing all their stuff to get ready, you know, set their trap. And all of a sudden, a rodent, now remember, that's like a mouse or a rat, okay? A rodent, probably a mouse, came up to them to say something to them. Well, impeccably dressed means perfectly dressed, like dressed, no wrinkles, nothing out of place, just perfect. Someone who looks like they're, you know, they could be ready to go to a wedding or a fancy restaurant. They just look like they put a lot of time into their clothes and making sure that they look as best as they possibly can. So impeccably means perfectly. And strode up to us means he walked up to us. He just walked on over to come up to us. And he said, this is where we're going to end on this last paragraph. This is what he says, this impeccably dressed rodent. So some mouse, we have not met him yet. We don't know his name yet, but we know he might be important because number one, he's dressed perfectly. And number two, he walked right up to them on purpose. This was not like, oh, sorry to run into you. This was him coming over on purpose to talk to them. And he said, gentle mice, can you please try not to be so loud and disruptive? He implored, looking around nervously. It was Snobby LaFleur, the manager of the Grand Hotel. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple words and then we're going to call it a day. Now, gentle mice comes from the word gentleman. So we're going to look at, oops, that one should be purple, right? Okay, and then we're going to have disruptive and implored. And, I'm using the wrong color here. Disruptive, implored, nervously. And did you notice how please was written in italics? And so here he wants us to pull a word apart, say it slowly, like, can you please try not to be so loud and disruptive? He implored. Okay, so with gentle mice, the real word should be
Gentleman.
that's right. And so it should be gentleman should be the real word. Gentleman. Said, gentle mice, can you please try not to be so loud and disruptive? Well, disruptive here means you're causing problems. You're making people look at you. You're being loud. You're doing things that are, people are looking at you instead of at the party. People can't pay attention to each other. People can't enjoy what they're supposed to be doing because they're so busy looking at you because you are making so much noise and doing so many other things, and it's annoying. Okay, so disruptive means you are causing a problem that's making people look at you rather than do what they're supposed to be doing. And implored is to beg or to ask with a lot of like, please, 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 please. So it's more than just ask. It's like, I'm begging you. So he really wants them to be more quiet so that no one will notice them. The opposite of being disruptive is being so quiet that no one even notices you're there. And he's nervous because nervous means he's worried about what's going to happen. He thinks that maybe it's not going to be what he wants. He doesn't really know what's going to happen, but he thinks that maybe it won't be what he wants. So he's nervous. And that's not a comfortable feeling. Now, if he's the manager of the hotel and he's in charge, whoever hired the hotel to have this party, they are depending on him to make sure everything goes smoothly, to make sure that everyone has a good time, there's nothing disruptive, and that everyone just is happy. But if people feel like they're disrupted, then maybe they won't be happy and they will complain to him, the manager. He doesn't want anyone to complain. So he would like Swift Paws and Geronimo and the chief of police to be a little bit more quiet and so that no one notices they're there. Okay, so that's why he's coming over to talk to them on purpose. And tomorrow we will find out what happens at the hotel, if their plan works, and if they do trap the thief. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the share so that I can say so long. And I hope you have a great night, Archie. Bye. Bye.